From the very beginning, when you start with this little seed and it grows into what's now like a large forest, it was because a bunch of people really cared about it and really helped each other to build something important. What we had back then was this sense of purpose, of sort of the proverbial David and Goliath situation, where we were actually trying to like change the global financial system. And little disagreements we had didn't matter because we all knew that we were friends. And that's really dissolved to the point where people have lost friendships, businesses have fallen apart. And it's really sad to see.
I think cryptocurrency is going to take over the world. I think previously it would have been possible that Bitcoin could really just take over and really have the lion's share, but Bitcoin's first mover advantage has really been damaged by these people that have intentionally made Bitcoin have high fees and slow confirmation times. And that's the version of Bitcoin SegWit at this point, and that's why I like Bitcoin Cash.
You know, the way I define Bitcoin is the longest chain is measured by total proof of work. I think that's a reasonable way to define Bitcoin. Anything that's not that is an altcoin. And Bitcoin can change. Of course, I think it's possible that Bitcoin Cash will end up becoming the longest chain by total proof of work, in which case Bitcoin Cash would be Bitcoin if that happened.
I think when there is enough intrinsic desire of people to interact with each other, and business and trade is one of those like fundamental things to humans, the efficiency that is brought to that and the honesty that is brought to that by Bitcoin, I think in the long term will win the day. And it'll win the day even more likely if the Bitcoin community actually like gets its shit together and stops these horrible bickering matches and actually like helps each other build this technology.
You know, in the earliest days when I became the world's first investor in Bitcoins, because I knew people were going to start using Bitcoin as money. And because people were going to use Bitcoin as money, I figured I should buy some. And I see the same thing with Bitcoin Cash right now. The legacy Bitcoin network paying, you know, $5 or $10 per transaction in fees, people aren't going to use that. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, you have fees are less than a penny. They're always confirmed in the next block. There's none of this replaced by fee nonsense. So zero confirmation transactions are safe. That's incredibly useful in commerce. And when something is incredibly useful in commerce, people are going to start using it in commerce. When people are using it in commerce, more and more people are going to use it because the supply is limited. If the demand goes up, the price in terms of dollars is going to go up. And we're seeing that happen with Bitcoin Cash right now. And I think we're going to see that continue to happen here.
One of the scenarios is that because Bitcoin Cash shares the proof of work function with Bitcoin and and SegWit1x and SegWit2x, it can actually dominate mining power.
This shit is absolutely going to change the entire world. And it is going to completely overtake the global financial system. It is completely going to change how human relationships happen with each other, how business is done. And fiat currencies are going to be something that people in this room joke about with their grandchildren. It's going to be like one of those funny things that humans foolishly thought about and everyone just assumed. And there are examples of that, how we feel about our ancestors today. Bitcoiners are basically all in agreement about like some really fundamental things about how the world works. They're much more similar to each other than they are to other people in the world. And that alone should encourage some kinship and some forgiveness and some patience and friendship. And you have to keep that perspective.
This is a fundamental shift in the way in which the world works.